What are our thoughts now that the Dalai Lama sort of scandal has been about what's it been about a week now? Um, it's definitely dividing. Now he's been getting a lot of support from the Tibetan community and people in certain areas. I don't know much about the religion or any religions for that matter, but I don't think it's too far out. Like the initial part, from what I recall in the video, he took his hat off and then he was forehead to forehead with the boy. I think that that's playful banter. I can remember my grandpa doing that with me, forehead to forehead, sort of thing. Um, Definitely, I want to say the kiss was, you know, do we look at that as a very, because it's in the context of religion, was that, is this how we look at, like godlike figures? Because look, we are worshiping people that walk the earth, and do we empower them in certain ways to say, like, okay, kissing a child is like a blessing upon them because they are the vessel of a higher source, a higher power? Is that where we go with that? Now, the asking of the sucking of the tongue, that is definitely weird, and I don't know if it's just an older man having cognitive slips, and are these, peeling back the curtain to his past, and are there things that are going on? I don't know. But what do we want to see from this? Do we want to see this man stripped of his power? Do we want to see him jailed? Is there an investigation, or do we just leave it be and say, well, it was a weird thing, but we don't have any proof. There was nothing that was done. I've never heard a cross word about this man in any other context. I don't know how long he's been the actual Dalai Lama, because that is a title, but from most of my life, from what I can remember, it's been this guy. So I've never heard a thing about it. And but then again, we don't hear about a lot of priests specifically until they are caught in a scandal, and then like Catholicism will bury that too. So there's that possibility. He's definitely getting a lot of pushback from what I see in a lot of articles and things like that. Most notably was is a rapper, Cardi B. If you're not familiar with her, she is a female rapper who was a former stripper, and at one point had admitted to, from what I understand, drugging men and then robbing them. Now she's pushing back now and saying that she never said that she drugged them. It was that these men chose to hang out with a stripper, which she was, and they partook in too many recreational um, drugs or alcohol, things like that. And when they passed out, became over inebriated, then she robbed them. Um, I don't know if she's in a place to call anybody predatory, because that's really taking advantage of a moment. I'm not saying that these two things are remotely the same, but this one, you have one person who admitted to their crime, and this person is just he apologized. I'm not saying it should just go away, but we've never seen anything like this before from this person. So it doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It just means we don't have any proof to, say we're going to drag him through the town square, castrate, and then, do away with him. As a lot of people just go overboard with some of this stuff. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on a situation like this? It's pretty unique as far as this particular person, this particular religion that we know of in the Western civilization. Maybe there's things in that part of the world that where people just know, like, this is not any different than Catholicism and priests being protected and things like that. I don't know. I'm just speaking out of thought, asking questions, and just wanting to get some feedback on this. So, um, boy, it's a tough one, and it's a little disappointing because I think the Dalai Lama, it's a very unique sort of position, different than priesthood in my estimation. But again, I don't know much about it. Maybe that's why it seems different, because it's so far removed from my scope of understanding, or not willingness to learn, but just the ability to learn right now. Like in the future, I might have a different thought on this and realize, oh, there's a bunch of guys like him. Don't know, don't know, but it still is a point of conversation, and I think everybody has a particular feeling about it, especially if you have children. Um, so I'm going to leave it at that. But what are your thoughts? What's your ace up the sleeve advice, comment, experience? Is it possible that this is something that's coming, to an older man with are we seeing cognitive things, or is this just him showing who he's always been? What are your thoughts? Has he maybe gone through something? I think that's a lot of times we overlook some of these things, that people have gone through things themselves, and that cycle, repeats itself. Doesn't make it right by all means, but um, I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard one, because what the doesn't even I don't know, does this show a complete intent to go after a child in a very, very, destructive way. I'll put it that way. So I'd love to hear from you guys, and see what your thoughts are on this. I'm going to leave it at that, and hopefully this finds everybody in a place to realize that, if you want to look at a higher power, look to the higher power. Don't look to the earthly beings that are a vessel of that higher power. Just look to the higher power yourself. You have that connection, you have that personal relationship. And I say this as a person who is not devout in anything other than just trying to be a good person every day. But it's high time we stop following athletes, entertainers, politicians, and religious figures for our moral compasses. We can do that on our own just by doing better. Again, hopefully this finds everybody in a place, pursuit, and beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, unity, solidarity.